and not have to do this in terms of finances and stuff.
We were blessed enough to have a lot of great hip hop artists on this platform, and a lot of discussion that we have. One of the main topics we talk about is drug use and drug promotion in hip hop. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think you've ever been one of those artists to really openly promote any drug abuse, any drug use, and you damn sure didn't in this last album. It was quite opposite. Why do you think it's so popular? I mean, we know the people who are just talking what they live, but there also seems to be a demographic of hip hop artists, whether it be forced on by that label or whatever, to promote it to the children. So what do you think about the drug promotion, and why do you feel it's so important to promote the opposite?
Man, that is a great point, bro. That is a great point. I talk about this type of stuff with my friends all the time, dog. So I think that shit is an issue, bro. You know what I'm saying? I think that, but in the same token, you know, I respect and I understand what people are. You know, I just question the fact of like, all right, what's the long-term goal, or what are we trying to tell the people long-term? I understand we all gonna make mistakes. We all gonna have our, you know, times where we teenagers or, you know, young adults and we gonna indulge in drugs or whatever. And I think if you do it, cool. You know, we've all done it, including myself, you know. So I think promoting it in the way that they've promoted it it's just very interesting to me. And I don't think that type of thing pushes our people forward or pushes anybody forward. But, you know, I don't agree with it, bro. Wholeheartedly, I really don't. I really don't agree with that. Pushing that type of, because I think we could just talk about so much. There's so much to pull from. But to be able to talk about the drugs and how we use them, it's just going to inspire somebody else to want to use them in the same way because of my artist that I think is so cool and that I look up to when he dripping, he all it is. I'm going to do the same thing as him because I want to be cool and I want to be famous and I want to have girls, and this is just what everybody's doing. But I think it's damaging to the culture and to the young kids today.
Would you say it's an agenda? Because it seems like, you know, the labels kind of will push that type of music as opposed to, you know, a conscious song. They're looking for, you know, the most ratchetest song about people drinking lean, stealing somebody's girl. Would you say it's an agenda, or would you just say is art imitating life and people just giving their experiences?
Mm-hmm. I think it's an agenda. You ask me, I think it's always an agenda. You know, I think there's always an underlining, you know, because it's not a coincidence on why a lot of our young Black African-American artists and others so outside of our culture as well talk about the, you know, just the use of the drug usage. And I think that they know that maybe the people that's listening to it are not really conscious of it, or not like the people that, you know, it's meant for a certain demographic. It's meant for people who don't know themselves, who's looking for something outside of themselves to make themselves happy. You know, and I think in the world of the new generation, I think that's just where we are right now. It's just a lot of the young kids searching outside of themselves for, like, you know, for validation. And that looks like drugs, that looks like fashion, that looks like clothing, that looks like violence on the outside, you know. So my goal and my message has always been able to turn that energy and power in that, you know, same type of way you're going to, you know, exude it, you know, externally. I think turning that back internally has always been at least a part of my goal and a part of my messaging towards people.
Dope. Now, you are very into health and nutrition. You said you played ball as a kid. You still look like you could probably run a 4.3 40. So talk about just being healthy and promoting health and nutrition, what you're doing with that and how you promote that in your hip hop as well.
Honestly, bro, it started off just something fun, something I was just really just doing. I ain't really think nothing of it. It just became a part of my lifestyle. And so people was constantly hitting me on like, yo, what is it you're doing for your training and your workout regimen in terms of what I eat, how I keep my mind right. So I just decided to create a program and create something for the people on just something that can help them live a happier, healthier life. You know, so I created a holistic program, and for me, it wasn't far off, right? So this isn't different from what I've done in the past. It's just a more fine-tuned version of who Ace Hood is. You know what I'm saying? So if people even go back to my body of work or just to my messaging, it's always been about this. Even though the main hit hasn't been in representation of what the body of work has been in the past. So for me, it was just naturally to connect. My music gives you energy. It makes you feel inspired, motivated. It makes you get up off your ass. So, you know, and I play ball, man. I wanted to keep a part of that with me. So attaching the sports and giving you the soundtrack while you train and work out and putting that into a holistic program, you know, it's going to help somebody, you know. And at this point in my life, bro, I just want to be a servant, which means like just give to people, bro. Help lift other people up.
All jokes aside, we see these rap artists on Instagram boxing and stuff now, and I'm just shaking my head. I'm like, Lord, I hope y'all really don't get into a fight. And I see why y'all promote what y'all promoting y'all videos. Y'all really can't fight. You've been seeing these videos, and what you been thinking about these young boys on the glove?
Like this, I laugh because I think it's funny, man. Like when you really do something, they don't promote it. I noticed that. But I think it's fine, man. All of these rappers and guys out in boxing, and it's entertainment for me at the least. But I really do the MMA training and boxing, so I think it's interesting.
Do you have a desire to have mainstream success like you had before? Because something tells me like you don't even want to like get into that limelight again. You're just comfortable, just kind of just doing you, living on your own means. Is that safe to say?
Comfortable? No. I'm a growing being. I'm a growing soul. Mm-hmm. So there's never no room for comfortability because there's goals and there's things that we want to accomplish. So is it my goal to go back to mainstream and to like, no. But is it my goal for this music and content to reach the masses? Absolutely. With love and like with intent, for sure. But it's not like my goal to jump back and say, oh man, damn, I need to get out there in the people, because that's just tiring, bro. Like I ain't trying to be out here. I'm a person, I'm a being, dog, and I ain't finna be out here, just controlled by people and this, and we want this, and we want to do this. And I know how it is when it comes to the commercial industry. So I just knew that I needed to come back in a more stronger way, in a way that which I can really stand on all 10. You dig? So before it wasn't that. So it's like now that I'm approaching back on a commercial scene, it makes more sense. So it's like a different version, and it's different being at this particular time. So, but shit, my goal is to take this thing as high as I possibly can and not forcing it, path of least resistance is what I believe.
Now, when you started out, you were coming out of Florida, you were on fire. Obviously, you had the hits, the bangers, the songs to get you off your ass. Then you went the independent route and you did this thing. And you did your thing on there and you're still successful in that. Do you feel as though the music industry did a disservice to Ace Hood? Because you were always known as one of those, you were always in the most underrated rapper conversation. You were always one of the hottest rappers. You were always the hottest rapper on the feature, You were always the hottest rapper on the summer, but you never got the credit you deserve. So do you feel like the music industry did a disservice to you?
No. I think that's a great question too, and I think sometimes it's like discouraging. I think sometimes to think about it as like, fully not being in a space to where you can feel like you can, really let your higher self shine. You know what I'm saying? And I think like I felt underappreciated in the past, 100% wholeheartedly, dog. And I think that, yes, for sure that I deserve more. But, one thing about me, man, is I've always taken accountability. I'm always taking accountability for my part in everything. So would I say the music industry done me just a disservice? Nah, man, because I just refuse to play the victim role. And I just know how powerful I am as a being, as a person. And I know how powerful my music is and my message is. So, I think all of this is what I'm doing is bigger than me and bigger than everything else that I'm doing. It's bigger than the industry. It's bigger than people. It's bigger than conversation. Like this shit's so deeply rooted, and it needs to be said. And so, what's up, baby? Yeah. Daddy? Yes, sir. Yes, Daddy doing the interview as soon as I got you. Yeah. Okay.
Hey man, we both fathers. We get that, bro. Trust me.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Dope.
Yeah. Could you talk about some of the other investments that you made outside of hip hop? Earlier, you talked about making sure that you don't just rely on the rap. Could you tuck us into some of the other things that you invested in?
Yeah.
Hip hop.
So for me, outside of hip hop, obviously was one of the fitness things, my fitness business. So everything around my fitness business, it's probably been just as large or on the brink of being as large as like my music career. And making other investments in terms of just whether it's maybe trucking businesses or something like that, that we or like diving into, that's very interesting. That thought came to my mind, but stuff like that, off businesses, trucking businesses, obviously a little bit of real estate and stuff like that. So these are the things that like I'm dabbling my hands in right now. But one of my main focuses, like I said again, is mainly my fitness brand and seeing what that can become.
Being a hip hop artist that is definitely lyrical, where do you see hip hop now? That we had a transition to where it was kind of like I don't want to put a date on it, but it was kind of looking crazy. But now you see some of these artists emerging, and you're seeing lyrics come back, and the substance behind hip hop come back. And now, obviously, what we got going on socially, where do you see hip hop now? And do you think some of the artists that are out here today and going tomorrow are going to start weeding out, and some real conscious music is going to begin to start surfacing?
Ooh. You know what, bro? I don't even want to use the word conscious, dog, because I know people think about when you think conscious, I feel like people think you got to be a certain way, right? To be conscious. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of like pressure behind the idea and the word consciousness. Like, but do I think that a new world is in order? Facts. Do I think like a world of more accountability for people? Facts. Do I think that we're going to start looking at people who have these messages that aren't, really right? We're going to start holding you accountable. And that's what I love about all of this, is that happening because it makes space for people like me, people who hold themselves accountable, people who think about every bar and every line and every time that I write and the music that I put out. So I really would like for artists to come from spaces like that, because I think the music would be more powerful. And yes, I do believe, bro, again, that there is a new age to where consciousness, enlightenment, understanding of oneself, like all of that is going to come to a forefront, to a full front. And I think things are going to change for sure.
George Floyd's situation, we all seen that go down, just a few short weeks ago. How did you feel? How did you see the reaction to that? Like all 50 states protesting, other countries protesting. How did you feel about